Hey y'all, it's Laura and welcome back to another Cocoa Vanilla Studio video. This time we are using Storyteller again for some more baseball pictures, and today's theme was either spring or fall. And I thought it would be perfect to do some baseball photos for the spring prompt, simply because here in the United States, spring training is a big deal for baseball fans. And I thought that kind of fit, and so we're going to scrap these photos of my adorable 9-year-old who joined a really fun team of disabled kids and adults. We only had kids on this team, and one of the team had adults, and they did some really fun games. Now, the games were just for fun. I don't even think they kept score because I'm pretty sure they tried to get all the kids to run the bases at least once in each round. And they had a great time. It was so much fun. They were absolutely thrilled to be part of it at first. But as you can imagine, when you have a lot of kids who have special needs, there does tend to be some busyness, a lot of running around the field, a lot of, just generally forgetting how to play because they're new to it. And it was a little bit chaotic, but they did have fun. They had a great time. And one of the things I love about these pictures is my husband was a major part of this activity. This was something that was really important for him to do with the girls. And I am so thankful to have these pictures now. They mean so much more. In the moment, it was just, oh, this is fun. We're having a great time. Now these photos mean so much more. Take the photos. That is what I've been telling a lot of people who have talked to me about, how you doing? How are things going? I was like, I'm okay, but I want everyone to take the photos, even if it seems like this is not an important moment. This is just a bit of fun. Doesn't matter. Take the photos. So what I'm doing here is a really fun little floral hexagon design, and these tiny little cut files are from Liz Longest Designs, and they're just a bunch of loose hexagons with little shapes inside. Now, how you could use these is you could take each of those little tiny shapes inside of the hexagons and fill them in with a different pattern paper, so you'd have kind of a mixture or a little collage of papers on each hexagon. But I chose to back each of them on one single pattern paper from the A5 paper stack, and then I'm going to be creating a really fun little hexagon floral design. Now, I had a couple of ideas of how to do this, but I end up going with one that doesn't use all of the hexagons, and I'm going to try to save those for another layout in the future. But initially, I was going to try to get all of them on this layout, and so this was the design I was working with at first. Now, I will go ahead and back these off camera, but I did leave one in here for you to see the process, which is just simply I went through and picked several papers from the A5 paper stack and glued down these hexagons on top of them. I actually found this worked really well for the busy paper, so the one here that had all the hearts, it worked really well for that one, to kind of break up the design a little bit. So when I put it onto this green background, it didn't stand out quite as much. It didn't have quite a strong presence on the page. Whereas if I had just cut hexagons of this paper and had a solid pattern of those hearts, it would have stood out a lot. And I think having those lines inside really broke that up a little bit and kind of gave it a similar presence to the other punched papers that are a little simpler. So I chose this heart paper, the wood grain, and this blue to the side. Here they are all backed and rearranged into just 3 of those florals going up the page. And I think this is a really fun design. It gives you a lot of options to play with these gorgeous hexagon florals. And this is a design that I really, really enjoy doing with hexagons. I love playing with hexagons because they are puzzle together shapes. And if you're familiar with my scrapping, you know that I love to use my punches, and this is one of the ways that I use them. I love puzzle together shapes. You can puzzle together diamonds, you can puzzle together hearts, you can puzzle together stars if you try really hard. So it's really fun to see how you can take these simple shapes and make them work for a number of different designs. Now, I just happened to have a hexagon punch that was roughly the same size as these hexagons from the cut file set, and that was more just coincidence than anything else, and I was really excited to see that. And now that I have everything all puzzled together in this really fun floral climbing vine here I've created, now I'm going to add some embellishments. Now, my embellishments are going to be mostly crowded inside of the hexagons, and I added some larger pieces and some smaller pieces. I'm trying different things with the ephemera pack to see what can I make work, because initially I wasn't sure quite what I was going for. I just wanted to try things out. And I think it's really important to go through this auditioning process with your embellishments to see what you like, what sticks out to you, and what you can eliminate right away. I think that helps me to push the design a little bit further and make it a little bit more interesting. Now, because I was adding so many embellishments and all of the attention is of course focused around my photos, which I prefer to do, I am going to leave a lot of this green space in the background open. And the reason that I do that is because I have such a busy section of the layout, I want to leave open space for your eye to rest. I want you to be able to have a little bit of an open area that contrasts the busy area. And what that does is create balance on the page. Now, I have 3 photos. These are 3x2 photos, and I purposely cut them this small because I knew I wanted to do something like this. I wanted to have some sort of sectioning on the layout where each photo was allowed to stand on its own and have its own little bit of attention. So a little focus on each photo. But by connecting all of those hexagon florals, I then can have a continuity on the layout so that your eye is led from one photo to the next photo and it's not bouncing all over the page. And I really like that idea. It's something I've been playing with a lot lately, about separating my photos but also having continuity between them. And it's just been a really fun design perspective to play with, and I'm really enjoying it. So now I did find all of these beautiful little butterflies in my fussy cutting bowl, and what I do with the new collection when I first get started is I flip through it and find any papers that I could fussy cut or that I just want to fussy cut. And usually that includes the cut apart paper, and the cut apart paper from the Cocoa Vanillas are brilliant because they also have embellishments on them, like purposely put into them. And so I always cut that apart first. And then I go back and look for florals and butterflies, stars, shapes, things that I can cut out and use as embellishments to stretch my collection further. With this collection, I also cut into some of the cut apart papers that had borders, and I think those little tiny cameras there were part of the cut apart paper that had a border, and I just cut out all the little cameras from the border strip, and that's a great way to get some of the smaller embellishments as well. In addition, because I know I'm a little wild with my fussy cutting, I do tend to cut out really small embellishments from the A5 paper stack, which are scaled down patterns from the 12x12s. And so quite often I'll get some really tiny embellishments that I cut out from that size as well. One of the things I really like to do with my layouts is to add non-papery textured items. And what this does is it adds a little bit more interest to the page. It doesn't feel quite so flat. And even if you don't add embellishments that are truly dimensional or truly have like a thickness to them, it helps to add things that aren't paper to the layout just to give it a little bit more interest. So in this case, I have added those wood buttons that have little epoxies in the middle, and I've also added the titles, which are foam. And the top of these are so lovely. They feel so nice on the top. And I don't know what that is, but it's kind of like a fuzzy, soft sort of feel to them on top of the foam words, and I really like it. It's just really fun to play with, and it's a nice little sensory feel. You know, I like when my scrapbooking embellishments have a nice little sensory feel. I don't know why. You're not going to feel the layout, but while I'm creating it, I enjoy that aspect quite a lot. So this is my Love from the Heart title. I'm tucking that in right inside of where my beautiful little hexagon florals, and this again adds to that continuity of the layout. By having everything sort of tucked in close to everything else, it still allows me to give each photo its own space, but also adds that continuity that I really wanted on this layout. Now, another way to bring in the black from this title, because as you notice, I don't have a lot of black on the layout currently. And so what I like to do is pull these little hearts or little shapes and I add them to my clusters, or in this case, I'm going to add them to the little hearts I've put at the corner of each photo. So we have little black hearts added to the little icon ephemera hearts at each corner of the photo. And that pushes that black around the page and makes it fit in a little bit better. So if you're introducing a new color, that is a great way to spread it around the page and make sure that it has a continuity throughout the page. Add just a little bit more in other places. Now you can also get this effect with Nuvo drops. So if you get all the way to the end and realize, oh my gosh, my title is dark and everything else on this layout is light, how do I get more of that dark everywhere? I'm done. Go in with Nuvo drops. So this is why I say to have neutral colored Nuvo drops. I usually have gold, black, white, and silver on hand, and it allows me to go back and add little Nuvo drops in black. For example, I could have done these little butterfly trails in black that I end up doing at the end. I could have just dotted around my clusters in black, and that would have added more of that dark color all around the page as well. So it's a super easy way to fix that if you get to the end and you're like, oh no! I speak from experience on that, by the way, because I have done this many times. Now, I brought in some of the word phrase stickers from the sticker sheet, and I'm going to add, I think I did one of those under each of the photos, tucked into the little hearts at the corner, and I really like this effect. I'm a wordy person anyway, and so I love to get lots of words on the page, and this one just didn't have enough. It did not have enough, and so I did go back and add some more word phrases, and of course my Nuvo drops. As I do with just about every layout, I always finish it off with some scattering and splattering. Scattering is the tiny little detail pieces that I add around like enamel dots, or in this case, I went in with some those little black hearts. I added those everywhere. I even added them at the end of my title. Sometimes it's little tiny puffy stickers or little tiny punch shapes. It's really fun to add those. I really enjoy that part. And then I do 2 levels of splattering. I do a controlled splatter with my Nuvo drops, typically in gold. That's usually my go-to color. And then I come in with some ink spray or some watercolor paint in gold, and I add that around the edges. And what that does is it kind of helps to give a finishing touch to the layout, and it adds that tiny little bit of detail that really makes a big difference. I personally see a huge difference when I add the splatter to when I don't. So now this one is done. Be sure to check out the blog for more photos at cocoavanilla.com.au. And that's it. Until next time, bye y'all.